Welcome to the bottom line on City Watch. I am your host, Mihran Kalaydjian. Today, we are joined by John McKinney, candidate for Los Angeles City Attorney, to discuss his campaign, his priorities, and the challenges facing Los Angeles from public safety and homelessness to accountability at City Hall. John, welcome to the bottom line.
Thank you, Mihran. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. It's good to have you with us. And let's begin. My first question is, where does your campaign stand today? And what do you believe you still have to prove to Los Angeles voters before the election day?
Well, Mihran, my campaign is in a great position today. We got through the primary election with a lot of momentum. We're continuing to raise money. We just crossed the $150,000 mark. We're getting close to the matching funds, which will catapult us closer to $500,000. We hope to raise over $1 million in this race, and we're well on our way to do that. Got a lot of fundraisers on calendar. People are just getting back from vacation and putting their kids in school. So people are just now getting acclimated to what's going on in Los Angeles and what this future general election will look like. So I still have a lot to prove. There are a lot of people in this city who don't know my name. They don't know my background. There are a lot of good things about me that I want to share with people, and I'm looking for every opportunity to do that.
Voters have a clear choice between you and Marisa Roy. What is the single biggest difference between the two of you? Not in personality or campaign rhetoric, but in how you could actually run the city attorney's office.
The single biggest difference is easy. It's experience. I've been a lawyer for nearly 30 years. My opponent has been a lawyer for about a third of that time. In my 30 years, I have tried over 100 cases to jury trial, and I've won 97% of my cases. My opponent has never tried a jury trial. I currently oversee the work of over 300 lawyers and staff. My opponent has never led a large legal team. So the biggest difference between us that doesn't get into campaign rhetoric or platform positions is experience. Miran, if you were hiring a lawyer to run the law firm for your company and you had to choose between a young lawyer who's off to a good start and someone like me with a lot of experience, I think you would choose me.
What is the strongest argument your opponent can make against you, and what is your response to voters who may share that concern?
The strongest argument, and it's not a very strong argument, I'll share with you the argument that she has been making. And the argument that she has been making is I care too much about public safety. Believe it or not, that's her argument against me. He cares too much about public safety. And she says that because that is my number one priority as city attorney is to keep our neighborhoods safe, to keep our streets clean and passable, to make sure that repeat offenders are held accountable for their crimes against people, that victims of crime are recognized and made whole. I care about those things. My opponent, on the other hand, at one time suggested that we don't even prosecute misdemeanors. Misdemeanors. Misdemeanors represent a large class of crimes. Some of them are very serious. And in the aggregate, it's the misdemeanor crimes, the broken window type crimes, the quality of life crimes that affect people on an everyday basis more than some of the larger crimes. So those are two very big differences between us.
You mentioned a very important key about public safety, and you have made neighborhood and public safety a cornerstone of your campaign. What especially can the city attorney do to make Los Angeles neighborhoods safer that the office is not doing effectively today?
Well, the city attorney, in a nutshell, enforce the law. That's it. I know it sounds simple. Enforce the law. Stop playing games with the law. When somebody breaks the law and they get cited for it, it's the city attorney's job to make sure that they're held accountable. And that can be something very simple. It could be diversion. It could be probation. It could be community labor. I love community labor. When people break the law, I love giving them an opportunity to go out and work it off for the community. Or it could be jail. If the person is dangerous, if they pose a danger to other people, then they should be sequestered away from society. So the single biggest thing the city attorney can do to keep our community safe at the misdemeanor level is to make sure that when people break the law, those cases are brought into court and put in front of a judge. And I will do that, whether it's misdemeanors or whether it's a violation of 4118, our anti-encampment statute, which prevents people from setting up, these makeshift tents or building structures in front of schools, parks, libraries, places that the public is entitled to use and enjoy. If that happens, I will enforce that law as well. My opponent will not. She said that enforcing that law amounts to cruel and unusual punishment. That's how extreme she is.
Los Angeles neighborhoods continue to struggle with repeat offenses, vandalism, public drug use, illegal dumping, and other quality of life problems. Critics argue that the stronger enforcements can criminalize poverty or homelessness. Where do you draw the line between compassion and accountability?
I draw the line where the law draws the line. We are not criminalizing people when we enforce our laws. If a person is just walking down the street minding their own business, they're not going to get arrested and charged with a crime. I'm not going to have anything to do with a person like that. But if a person is spray painting graffiti on the side of a business, on public property or on private property, then that person is going to get arrested, brought to court, and held accountable for it. That's not criminalizing poverty. If a wealthy person does it, they're going to be treated the same as a person of lesser means. We enforce our laws because our laws don't recognize the differences between what someone looks like, what someone's religion is, where somebody lives. None of that. The law is the law. It applies to all of us, and no one is above it or below it.
Los Angeles has spent billions addressing homelessness, yet residents continue to see encampments and serious street conditions. From the city attorney's perspective, where has the system failed and what would you do differently?
There have been a lot of failures when it comes to homelessness. There have been bad plans, there have been bad contracts, there has been a lot of money spent with no accountability. I mean, billions of taxpayer dollars that should be going back into our city and making it clean and safer and more vibrant has been wasted. Um, the city attorney's job is important here. The city attorney isn't all powerful. I don't control all of government. But what I do have control over to some extent are the contracts that the city enters into. So if a city contracts with a nonprofit organization to provide certain services, say drug treatment or mental health treatment, it's the city attorney's job to make sure that contract is written in a way that protects taxpayers. The contract has to clearly spell out what the terms of the agreement are. The contract should include regular audits of how the money is being spent and what services are being provided periodically, not just at the end of the contract. And the contract should include clawback provisions that allow the city to take back money if there's a lack of performance at any time during the performance of the contract. If we have that, just that alone would have protected taxpayers against the loss of hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars at this point. But when it comes to homelessness overall, my plan is called compassionate accountability. Compassionate accountability. And I put compassion up front because that's how we start. We start by offering a helping hand, a gentle touch, an offer to get the treatment that's needed. And we're talking about expensive treatment that taxpayers are going to pay for, that the person is going to receive free of charge. Shelter, housing, whatever it takes to stabilize that person so we can then advance them to the next level toward independence. That's compassion. The accountability piece comes in for those people who don't accept that helping hand. It's not optional. It's not optional. We cannot allow people to live on the street. That's not a choice that they get to make. That's inhumane and is completely unacceptable. So that's where the accountability piece comes in. That's when someone breaks the law, we can use that as an opportunity to get them in front of a judge, to ask a judge to order them into treatment. Once they're in treatment, they're going to thank us for it. I've seen this before because I used to preside over, well, I didn't preside over it. I was the prosecutor in a drug court program. And we would get a lot of folks who were addicted to drugs, who wouldn't go get treatment on their own. But once they broke the law, we gave them a choice, Mihran. We said you can either go to jail or you can go to treatment. Almost all of them chose treatment. And a lot of them got well, and they came back to court and they thanked us for the help that we got for them. We need to do the same thing with homelessness.
If appropriate shelter or services are genuinely available, should someone be permitted to repeatedly refuse those options while continuing to occupy sidewalks, parks, or other public spaces? Where should the city attorney draw that line?
Yeah, that's where the accountability piece comes in for compassion accountability. There's no refusing help. There is no refusing the help that we're offering. We're going to offer world-class services, expert care and treatment. We're going to offer the best rehabilitation, but it can't be turned down. If it's turned down, then the alternative is then we just have to do what else the law allows, whether that be diversion or community labor or jail if the person is dangerous. But the goal again is to use the law to leverage people into treatment.
Accountability within the city attorney's office is one of your central campaign principles. What especially is happening inside the office today that you believe needs to change, and how would you hold your own administration accountable?
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to working with the talented men and women at the city attorney's office. They have some very good attorneys there and great staff. They need good leadership. I hope to bring great leadership. I hope to inspire them. I want to modernize the tools that they use to do their jobs. I want to free them to do their jobs. I don't want to micromanage them. I want to make sure I put together a great legal team, and then that team oversees the work of attorneys who are empowered to go into court and do the right thing on behalf of the people of Los Angeles. I need people to work hard. I need people to dig deep and work hard. It's called public service. We're public servants for a reason. We give 110%. So I'm going to be looking to modernize the office, make it more professional and more responsive. I don't want things sitting on people's desks for weeks that can be done in days. I want that office moving things along on behalf of the public and on behalf of the elected leaders who rely on the city's attorney's office for advice and to move other pieces of legislation forward through the process.
The city attorney represents the city, but the office also has an obligation to uphold the law. If the law points one way and the political interests of the mayor, city council, or other powerful interests point another, which side gets John McKinney?
Easy. The city gets John McKinney 100% of the time. My job as city attorney is to represent the city of Los Angeles. I have to work with the mayor. I have to give legal advice to the mayor. I'd like to give practical advice to the mayor if the mayor will hear it. Same thing for each council member, same thing for all the department heads and commissioners. That is the role of the city attorney. But at the end of the day, I'm elected by the people to represent the city, not the mayor and not the other politicians. So there is no conflict for me as city attorney. I know who I answer to, and I answer to the voters.
Campaign promises are easy to make. 4 years after taking office, What three measurable results should Los Angeles voters examine to determine whether John McKinney succeeded or failed as a city attorney?
Okay, 3 points of measure. Number one, public safety. That's my number one priority. So after 4 years, when I come up for reelection, voters should fairly ask, do we feel safer today than when John took office? Are we able to take a walk after dinner? Are we able to go into our local discount store or drugstore and find items on the shelf that are not locked up? Does the city feel good? Does it feel like we're ready for the Olympics, for example? Do things look a little cleaner? Are the street lights back on? So one area I think that will be fair to measure me is on public safety. Two, fiscal responsibility. Has John helped save the city some money? The city is paying out an enormous amount of money right now in lawsuits. There are approximately 3,000 lawsuits pending against the city of Los Angeles tonight. And those lawsuits carry a minimum probable liability of about $1.5 billion. If I become the next city attorney, that's what I'll be walking into office inheriting. My job is to get through those cases and minimize the number of cases that come behind them. That means I've got to be proactive as the city attorney to prevent lawsuits from happening in the first place. And then I have to have a smart litigation strategy to deal with the ones that already exist. At the end of the day, I expect to see fewer lawsuits and less money being paid out, not only to plaintiffs, but also to outside counsel when work is outsourced outside of the office. I want to try and keep as much work as possible under our roof and not have to pay for expensive private attorneys. And the third area is homelessness. Like I said, Mihran, we can't have people living on the street. It's unacceptable. It's deplorable. It's shameful. It wasn't always like this. You could go back just 15, 20 years ago. It wasn't like this. For most of my life, it wasn't like this. There's no reason it needs to be like this now when actually we are a more advanced society. We have more money. We have more technology. We have more means of helping people, yet we have more people living on the street than ever before. So I think it's been a failure of public policy and a lack of courage and resolve by politicians. I will change that.
Why John McKinney? You have 1 minute and you are speaking directly to an undecided Los Angeles voter. Why should they choose John McKinney as their next city attorney?
They should choose me because John McKinney is your advocate. I've been advocating for you for nearly 30 years in Los Angeles County as a deputy district attorney. I've stood in courtrooms all across the county. I've stood with victims of crime. I've stood with communities in prosecuting bad actors. I now want to bring all that experience to the city attorney's office. Well, I will continue to fight for the city of Los Angeles to save you money, to make your streets safer, brighter, more vibrant, more usable. And I have the experience to prove that I can do it. I've done it. And so my words are not just campaign slogans. I've already backed it up.
John, thank you for joining us today. And to all our readers, thank you for watching The Bottom Line on City Watch LA. The choices we make at the ballot box shape the future of Los Angeles. Stay informed, ask tough questions, and to make your voice heard. I'm Mihran Kalaydjian, your host. Until next time, this is Bottom Line.